Where America began, suspicion of power. History is often told through battles, victorious flags, and eloquent words reserved for the winners. But the fate of a nation is rarely decided on the battlefield. It is shaped in rooms of debate where very ordinary people confront questions far greater than their own lifetimes. America was born not from absolute confidence, but from a deep suspicion. Suspicion of power, suspicion of human nature, and suspicion of themselves. When the War of Independence ended, Americans did not step into a certain future. They had just overthrown an empire, yet they had never built a state. They had won freedom, but they were not at all sure that human beings were wise enough to preserve that freedom for long. Their greatest question was not, who will lead this nation? But rather, how can we prevent the power of government from becoming the enemy of freedom? 1. No one deserves absolute trust. Unlike many other revolutions in history, the founding fathers of the United States did not begin with an optimistic belief in human nature. They did not believe that once kings were overthrown, people would suddenly become noble. On the contrary, they believed that human beings have ambition. Power is always seductive, and no one is immune to temptation. James Madison expressed this concern most clearly. He once wrote a famous line, "If men were angels, no government would be necessary." If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. For Madison, the greatest danger to a free nation did not lie in external enemies, but within its own government. But Madison was not alone in his thinking. Alexander Hamilton saw a different danger. A government that is too weak would be unable to govern the country or protect a young nation from hostile forces. To Hamilton, poorly organized power was just as dangerous as abused power. And then there was George Washington, the only one among them who had held absolute military authority, who feared something else entirely. He did not fear the enemy. He feared an army accustomed to commanding society. Washington understood clearly, military victory may liberate a people, but military power that is not returned to civilian hands will soon suffocate freedom. Thomas Jefferson was different. He believed in natural rights, individual dignity, and the human capacity for self-government. But this belief was not naive. Jefferson distrusted the state more than he distrusted the people. From these differences, a rare common ground emerged. None of them believed that power could be entrusted entirely to any one individual. 2. From suspicion to design, the founders did not ask, who is the best person to rule? They asked instead, if a bad person comes to power, can this system prevent him from going too far? James Madison reached a revolutionary conclusion. A nation cannot rely on personal virtue. It must rely on a structure of power designed to restrain itself. Rather than hoping people will be good, assume the opposite and build the system for the worst case. From this thinking came the idea of separation of powers. Power must not be concentrated. Different branches must monitor, restrain, and obstruct one another, not to ensure smooth operation, but to ensure that no one can control the entire system. John Adams added another fear. Not only governments can abuse power, crowds can as well. He had witnessed collective emotions erupt, sweeping away reason. To Adams, a free society could destroy itself if it lacked order and discipline. Jefferson warned in the opposite direction. An overly restrictive system would kill the spirit of freedom, even if it claimed to protect it. This tension was not resolved by choosing a winning side. It was deliberately preserved within the structure of the nation itself. 3. Freedom and order, a necessary tension. The founders understood that absolute freedom leads to chaos. Absolute order leads to tyranny. John Adams asked, how do we protect society from itself? Thomas Jefferson asked, how do we protect freedom from the state? James Madison sought to keep society in a controlled state of tension. Conflict was not eliminated, but placed within rules. George Washington understood something very practical. Order based on fear is never sustainable. Order endures only when it is accepted, not imposed. America was not designed to always be stable. It was designed to never drift too far in any one direction. Tab 4. Compromise, a survival skill. After the war, the external enemy disappeared. Conflict now lay within the young nation itself. Hamilton and Jefferson represented two irreconcilable visions. One sought a strong central government. The other feared concentrated power. If either side won completely, the nation would lose its ability to self-correct. Benjamin Franklin understood this better than anyone. If everyone tries to win, everyone will lose. Compromise was not seen as a betrayal of ideals. It was seen as the condition for those ideals to survive. James Madison institutionalized compromise, not as a temporary solution, but as an operating principle. George Washington ensured that debate did not turn into rupture. He understood that a nation cannot endure if one side feels entirely excluded. 5. Institutions above individuals. History is filled with nations built by heroes and destroyed as soon as those heroes departed. George Washington had enough prestige to become a leader for life. There was no real barrier preventing him, but he refused. Not out of personal humility, but as a foundational political declaration. No one stands above the system. James Madison reinforced this through design, limiting individual roles, dividing power, placing rules above personal will. The American system was designed to be slow, complex, and difficult to control. Not because it was inefficient, but because no one was allowed to control the entire machine. 6. An unfinished nation. The final question was this: does the present generation have the right to decide for the future? James Madison believed the system needed stability, but not rigidity. Thomas Jefferson asked bluntly, why should the dead govern the living? George Washington chose humility before the future. No one is wise enough to foresee all changes in the world. Thus, the founders did not leave behind an immutable truth. They left a framework of principles, a mechanism for self-correction, and a spirit in which nothing is beyond question. Conclusion. America is not great because it is always right. It is great because it was designed to correct itself. It did not begin with blind faith, but with responsible skepticism. A nation where no one wins forever, no one stands above the system, and no generation has the right to close the founding debate. That is why American founding thought belongs not only to the 18th century, but continues to live on in the centuries that followed.